IF, 25, have two uncles and two aunts from my mom's side. We were always so close to each other, and my cousins are like my siblings. I'm the youngest one of the cousins, and my mom is the youngest of her siblings. My mom and her brother, we'll call him Jeff, are both successful surgeons in their respective fields and have an age gap of 15 years. Both of them moved into a small city that's 900 miles away from their hometown. My other uncle and two aunts stayed in their hometown next to my grandparents. We would always spend the holidays together. When my grandparents were alive, we used to go to their house in the hometown, and when they passed away, we used to alternate between the city that we live in and our hometown. My uncle Jeff has 6 kids and has been with his wife, we'll call her the witch, for 40 plus years. For some context, my mom and her siblings come from a wealthy background, and the witch's family were barely affording to put food on their plate. The witch has never been nice to us and has taken every chance she got to express how much she hated our families. She used to tell me that she only has respect for my mom because she's a surgeon, and she considered my other two aunts not worthy because they were stay-at-home moms. I spent a lot of time growing up with the witch since my dad was in the Navy, and my mom had an unpredictable schedule, so the witch would offer to babysit me. She would always lock me in a room and refuse to let me play with her kids. As a kid, I didn't understand why, but I also never bothered to tell my parents. Her kids were also mean to me and bullied me per their mother's request. My uncle Jeff, however, was like a dad to me, and he made sure that I had a father figure since my dad was away on duty. My uncle used to invite my other cousins for holidays, but they would only stay with me and my parents since the witch falsely accused them of stealing from her. As time went by, we would only see my uncle once a month, even though our houses were next to each other. I used to go to the hospital he works at to be able to see him, and he would always apologize and say that things are complicated in his marriage. My aunt used to drive 900 miles just so she could talk to him for an hour, and every time the witch found out that my aunt saw him, she would lose her shit by telling him that his sister was trash and that she doesn't like her. Eventually, my cousins and aunts stopped coming, and they would just try to call him on the phone to check on him. I also moved overseas and saw him maybe once a year. 2 years ago, my uncle Jeff had a stroke. The witch didn't bother to tell anyone, and my mom found out while doing rounds at the hospital. Safe to say, my mom was pissed, and she told the rest of our family. Thankfully, my uncle recovered, but he was very pissed at this wife. Jeff told off the witch and released all the pine-up anger he had for 40 years. He apologized to his sisters, to me, and to all my cousins for enabling the witch behavior. He also told us that if he dies, his wish is to be buried in his hometown next to his mom. The witch did not like that and asked us to leave the hospital. She took away his phone, and for 2 years, every time we would call him, she would answer and tell us he's sleeping, and since my uncle's health was declining, he couldn't do anything. We had to rely on the housekeeper to tell us if he's okay, and sometimes would sneak her phone to him so we could talk to him. 2 weeks ago, my mom got a call from the witch telling her brother is dead and that the funeral will not be in his hometown. The witch decided to bury him 900 miles away from where he wanted. I called her and told her that if she was worried about the cost of transporting his body to his hometown, I'll cover it. She then blew up, telling me that she gets to decide, and our money is worth nothing now. I called my cousins and aunts and told them not to go to the funeral. We all were shocked and sad to see that his last wish wasn't fulfilled. We didn't not inform the witch that none of us were coming. She called me on the funeral day frantic that no one showed up. Turns out, even his friends had the same idea and refused to go. They called us after the funeral, and we held a private service 2 days after in my uncle's hometown to honor him and celebrate his life. We had over 150 people show up to celebrate him, even though he is buried 900 miles away. We will be going NC with the witch and her kids. They can keep the inheritance, none of us care. Now we all are getting harassed by her kids telling us we made them look bad, but I honestly don't care.